If you're in band class wondering what the notes mean and how to read the music, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Trevor Dimoff. I teach music and band. I'm going to give you a quick history lesson. These are where the note ideas come from. A long time ago, nobody wrote anything down. And about 1,500 years ago in Europe, they decided that the church music had to be written down so that people could communicate better. The singing in church music was one of the first things that was written down. They wrote out the words and there was little scribbles around it to tell you if the notes went up or down. Later on, about 1,500 years ago, they started using something that looks a little bit like the notes we use today. If it was a long note, they had a little dime D shape like this. And if it was a faster note, they filled it in. Now, if the note went up, they would write it higher on the page. And if the note was to go down, they wrote it lower on the page. Now, this worked great for a while, but around 1,000 years ago, they decided that it was getting too complicated because there was too many notes, and it was hard to tell what to do. So they invented this wonderful new technology. It was a line. And that told us where the notes were. How far above or below, we weren't sure, but it did tell us which notes were the tonic, the main note for that song. So someone could sing it along and have a pretty good idea what it sounded like. This worked for a while, but then they decided, you know what? We need more lines. And the first common staff was 4 lines. Nowadays we use 5. And at first, these lines could be anything. Sometimes they would change the color for certain lines, and eventually they decided, you know what, we need to have something a little more clear. So they started using clefs. The first clef that they used that's now common is called a G clef. And it started off looking like a G. And over time it changed until eventually it started to look like the one we know today, the treble clef. The other clef that we still use is originally around the lower line of F, and it changed over time, and eventually it turned into the clef that we use today called the F clef or the bass clef. So the treble circles around the G line, and the bass clef works around the F line. So nowadays, we use 5 lines up high called the treble clef. And below it, the F clef or bass clef. And if you've taken piano lessons, you've seen these before. Now, as you go up or down, you change the notes in the alphabet. A is the first letter in the alphabet that we use, and going up, we add a letter each time. So the letters on the treble clef are every good boy deserves fun. In the bass clef, good boys deserve fun always. The spaces just fill in between. In between E and G is F, and G and B is A, and C and E. The spaces spell face. In the bass clef, all cows eat grass. Now, if you can use different rhymes. Ernie gave Bert dog food is one that I like. In between, we just go up and down. So below D, E is D, and then middle C holds the 2 clefs together. And so these are all the clefs in the treble, all the notes in the treble clef. We can keep going down and add ledger lines in the bass clef. And especially for flute and clarinet later this year, you'll be going higher. So G and A and B, and 2 lines above is C. And so these are where the notes come from that we use. Ernie gave Bert dog food. Good boys deserve fun always. The spaces spell face, F-A-C-E, and all cows eat grass in the bass clef. The note names that we start with in band class are spread all over the treble and bass clef. It depends on the notes that you're playing. If you play clarinet or trumpet, you start off, your first 5 notes start on C, there's a D, an E, an F, and a G. Higher up is flute, so this is clarinet, and trumpet. Flute starts here with B, C, D, E flat, and F. Bass clef starts with B flat. I should probably write the letters. B flat, C, D, E flat down here, and F. Low brass, flute, my messy writing. And saxophone. Alto saxophone is here with G, A, B, C, and D. Now the reason we have all these different notes is because to get the same sounds, because the instruments are different sizes, we have to adjust the notation so that it's written down differently, even though the sounds are the same. Flute is an octave higher, low brass is an octave lower than the trumpet and the clarinet. And the saxophone is playing the same sounds as the clarinet and the trumpet. Now that's high and low. Those are the note names that we're using. Let's talk about the rhythms, what they look like. First we have a whole note. This used to be called something else in elementary music class. We have half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes are faster again, and 16th notes are twice as fast again. So this is a whole note. There's one, counts for 4 beats. 2 beats for each of these, one here, a half, and a quarter of a beat. The whole note has 4 beats in it, and it takes up a whole bar. To go faster, we put a tail on it so it can go quicker, and now it counts for half a bar. So it takes 2 of them. Quarter note is twice as fast as a half. Every time we add a tail or a beam, we go faster again. So these are called eighth notes, and these are called 16th notes, and that's where they get their name. Rests are similar. The whole rest hangs because it's heavy. A half rest looks like a hat. Quarter rest, eighth rest, quarter rest. Quarter rest has got a funny little squiggle. Looks like a squishy Z with a C attached to it. An eighth note by itself looks like this. An eighth note rest by itself is a little swirly like that. So there's 2 of those for every quarter. To speed it up, we also add another flag, in this case, an extra dot. And that gives us a 16th rest. And these get really squishy. And I should have written it bigger. Can't even count them. 4, 4, 4, 3 more. And so that's how our rests work. Notes and rests. These are all the same size, and each of these takes up 4 beats. The reason we tie these together is it makes it easier to see. As we saw down here, it gets really confusing really quickly. Now, in front of most of our music, we have something called a time signature. In this case, most of what we learn, because most of what we listen to, is 4/4. This isn't a fraction, but it looks like one. It means 4 quarter notes. Every 4 beats, we divide it and put a bar line. Now, in olden times, back in elementary music, these had different names. Ta, tu-woo, or ta-ah, and titi. In band class, we count differently. Now we're looking at how big is the measure instead of just trying to get through it. It's too hard to say quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. So instead, we use numbers. And we divide everything up, in this case, in groups of 4. Now to find that one, we say and. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we know how to put it together. We have rhythms. When do we play them? and notes. What are we playing? Here's an example music notation from the book. This is the conductor's score for Au Clair de la Lune. Flute and oboe, clarinet, alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, trumpet, French horn, and trombone. So each of these are the same sounds except flute is higher, an octave higher, and trombone's an octave lower than the clarinets and the trumpets. B flat, B flat, B flat, C, D, C, B flat, D, C, C, B flat. To get the same sounds, clarinets and trumpets have to call it C. C, 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 D, E, D, C, E, D, D, C. Saxophones, G, 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 A, B, A, G, B, A, A, G. Low brass, B flat, B flat, B flat, C, D, C, B flat, D, C, C, B. If we're counting in numbers, instead of calling it ta, 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 two, woo, two, woo, ta, 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 four. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this example, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this example, we have a treble clef or bass clef, key signature, sharps and flats, time signature, 4 quarters or 4/4, and then our rhythms. Bar line, breath mark, repeat sign. And that's how we figure out the notes in band class. We need to know when to play it and what note to play.